Imagine an empire so vast, so powerful, that its name alone struck terror into the hearts of kings and nations. This was Assyria, the military superpower of the ancient world. Their armies were a relentless machine of conquest, their siege tactics were legendary, and their cruelty to the conquered was infamous. City after city, kingdom after kingdom, fell before them like dominoes. By the late 8th century BC, nearly the entire Near East was under their iron grip. And then, they set their sights on a small, stubborn kingdom nestled in the highlands. The Kingdom of Judah. Its capital, Jerusalem, was a prize waiting to be taken. The Assyrian king, Sennacherib, was not a man accustomed to being denied. He had already swept through the region, conquering 46 of Judah's fortified cities and deporting over 200,000 people. Now, only Jerusalem remained, a final beacon of resistance against an unstoppable tide. The king of Judah at this time was Hezekiah. He knew what was coming. He could have surrendered, paid the exorbitant tribute, and saved his people from a brutal siege. In fact, he initially tried to appease Sennacherib, stripping the temple of its gold and silver to buy a temporary peace. But it wasn't enough. The Assyrian war machine was hungry, and it was marching towards his gates. Faced with annihilation, Hezekiah made a bold choice. He decided to fight, not with spears and swords alone, but with faith and engineering. He launched one of the most ambitious construction projects of the ancient world. The city's water source, the Gihon Spring, lay outside the existing walls, a fatal vulnerability in a siege. So Hezekiah commanded his workers to dig a tunnel, a massive aqueduct carved through solid rock, to divert the spring's water safely inside the city. Imagine the scene. Hundreds of men, working with nothing but iron picks, chipping away in the dark, damp earth. Two teams started from opposite ends, one from inside the city and the other from the spring. Guided by sound and sheer determination, they dug towards each other for over 500 meters. The moment they broke through, connecting the two tunnels must have been one of incredible triumph. This engineering marvel, known today as Hezekiah's Tunnel, ensured that Jerusalem would have water while the besieging army outside would have none. While his men were digging, Hezekiah was also busy reinforcing Jerusalem's defenses. He strengthened the existing walls, built new towers, and manufactured a massive stockpile of weapons. He prepared his people not just for a battle, but for a long, grueling test of endurance. Soon, the horizon darkened with the dust of the approaching Assyrian army. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers, the most feared fighting force on the planet, set up camp around Jerusalem. Sennacherib sent his top official, the Rabshakeh, to the city walls to deliver a message of psychological warfare. Standing before the terrified citizens of Jerusalem, the Rabshakeh didn't just demand surrender. He mocked their faith. He shouted in their own language, Hebrew, so everyone could understand. "Don't let Hezekiah deceive you," he taunted. "Has any god of any nation ever delivered his land from the hand of the king of Assyria? Who are you to think your God will save you?" He offered them a false peace, a life of exile in a land of grain and new wine. It was a tempting offer, designed to break their spirit and turn them against their king. Inside the city, panic was surely setting in, but Hezekiah, in a profound act of leadership and faith, turned not to his generals, but to the prophet Isaiah. Isaiah delivered a powerful message of hope and divine defiance. He prophesied that Sennacherib would not even shoot an arrow into the city, that he would return by the way he came, and that God himself would defend Jerusalem for the people huddled within the walls. This was a radical promise. They were trapped, outnumbered, and facing certain death. Yet, they held on. Days turned into weeks. The Assyrian army remained camped outside, a constant, menacing presence. They likely built siege ramps and prepared their battering rams. The end seemed inevitable. And then, something extraordinary happened. The historical accounts, both in the Bible and from other sources, describe a sudden and catastrophic event. The Greek historian Herodotus, writing centuries later, tells a story he heard from Egyptian priests about an army of field mice swarming the Assyrian camp at night, gnawing through their bowstrings and shield straps, rendering them defenseless. The biblical account in the Book of Kings and the Book of Isaiah is even more dramatic. It states that during a single night, the angel of the Lord went out and struck down 185,000 soldiers in the Assyrian camp. When the survivors woke up the next morning, they were surrounded by the dead. What really happened that night? Was it a miraculous divine intervention? Or was it, as some modern historians and scientists suggest, a devastating plague? A sudden outbreak of a virulent disease, like cholera or a septicemic plague, could have spread like wildfire through the densely packed and likely unsanitary military camp, killing thousands in a matter of hours. The theory of the mice, mentioned by Herodotus, could even be a folkloric memory of a rodent-borne illness. Regardless of the specific cause, plague, divine act, or something else entirely, the outcome was the same. The siege was broken. The seemingly invincible Assyrian army was decimated, not by a military defeat, but by an unseen force. Sennacherib, the mighty king who boasted of his conquests on stone prisms that we can still read today, had no choice but to pack up and go home. His own official record, the Sennacherib Prism, lists the tribute Hezekiah paid before the siege, and it boasts of shutting him up in Jerusalem like a bird in a cage. But it conspicuously fails to mention the one thing that mattered most: the capture of the city. For a king who meticulously recorded every single victory, this silence speaks volumes. It's the loudest admission of failure in ancient history. The retreat of the Assyrians was a world-changing event. Jerusalem was saved. The kingdom of Judah survived for another century. And the story of this miraculous deliverance became a cornerstone of faith and identity for generations. It was a powerful testament to the idea that even in the face of overwhelming odds, hope is not lost, and that courage and faith can stand against the mightiest of empires. The story of the siege of Jerusalem is more than just an ancient battle. It's a gripping drama of engineering, psychological warfare, political brinkmanship, and unwavering faith. It reminds us that history is often shaped not just by the powerful, but by the resilient, the determined, and the faithful who refuse to be erased. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next journey into history. See you next time.